Joining me is Arnie Arnesen, who is a political commentator. So Arnie, I want to keep talking about the Jerry Little thing, and we ended the last conversation, and it really showed how complex it is. Mm-hmm. On one hand, you talked about the revolving door and the specifics of this, but then all of a sudden, you talked about the Democratic Party having a press release that lambasted this person, and all of a sudden it disappears. Mm-hmm. So, you know, truth only exists if we know it.
Lucky I found it.
and well, we found it on the Republican website.
Right, exactly. Thank you. Mwah.
So there are really kind of two things, and if we've got time, I want to try to get to both of them.
Yeah.
One is sort of the narrow.
Yeah.
You know, the qualifications of this person for this job.
Mm-hmm.
And
he knows a lot about banking. I know, I used to fight him. But go on. But he does. He knows a lot about banking.
So is it possible the governor said, look, you know a lot about banking. Yes, she knew his previous role. I mean, the governor's not going to miss that. Mm-hmm. And she still said, but you're a person I believe, based on my conversations with you, based on any number of other things, that you can oversee this area. And presumably the next governor could rescind this appointment.
No. Here's the more important thing.
Okay.
This is not run contemporaneously with the governor. When she makes the appointment, it's a 6-year appointment. That means the next governor cannot say au revoir. That next governor, whether it's Republican or Democrat, is stuck with Mr. Little for the next 5 years because he will be appointed now and it will extend for a 6-year
term.
Well, it's a 6-year term actually. So she'll be there for the end of her term, right, and then for whatever's left over.
So at least two governor cycles.
At least. So you have no control over that future, okay?
And just as she inherited other people from other appointments.
Right, exactly. Oh, of course. And let's remember, he worked for John Sununu, the father. And remember, Chris Sununu is running for governor, so he will just be returning to the fold if he happens to get the governor's race.
If Chris wins.
Right, exactly. And this is complicating a lot of things. It's not only complicating what's happening for Maggie Hassan running against Kelly Ayotte in the revolving door. It's making an issue for the Executive Council. On the Executive Council right now, because they have to approve this appointment. That's the rule in New Hampshire. We don't have a lieutenant governor.
Right.
We have an Executive Councilor.
And there are five.
And there are 5 members, and it'll be probably maybe a 3-2
vote because there's 3 Republicans.
And we don't know how the Republicans are all going to go because this is also something the Tea Party is offended by the revolving door. So there are a couple of Republican executive councilors who may be wild cards.
It could be 3-2.
It could be 2
Democrats,
exactly.
1 Republican. Okay.
But it won't be. And the problem is, Colin Van Ostern is an executive councilor. He too has to vote on this, but he is running for governor. And that means that now it is a real problem. Does he support his governor, Maggie Hassan, who's running for the U.S. Senate? Does he listen to his constituents, who a lot of them are now raising questions about the fox guarding the hen house and the revolving door? So it's put him in a precarious position. Chris Pappas is another executive councilor. He's another Democrat out of the Manchester area. I just heard yesterday on a TV show that he has some questions about this. But it gets even more exciting. There's a guy running for governor, also a Democrat, and his name is Mark Connolly. Mark Connolly issued a statement on Sunday night after this appointment, and he was a former state financial regulator, all right? And here's what he writes. I'll just read the last sentence. However, as a former state financial regulator, I do not believe it appropriate for an individual with 2 decades as the state's banking industry's chief lobbyist to now regulate that same industry as banking commissioner. This is going up and down the food chain. It's making it difficult for executive counselors. It's making it difficult for people running for governor. It's even making it difficult for Hillary Clinton.
But it's great for talk show hosts.
Oh my God, it's fodder. Yeah, but for Hillary Clinton, remember, she says, I'm going to be tough with the banks.
Right.
I'm going to take it to them. No more revolving doors. She's even said this on the record. And here she has her superdelegate, Governor Maggie Hassan, who's going to run for the U.S. Senate and be in her Senate maybe. And this
if she gets the nomination, she's going to come and support.
Absolutely. And I want to ask Hillary Clinton, so do you like this appointment? Is this the kind of appointment you'll be making when you become president? So I think this wasn't well thought out, but then it gets more complicated. So Jeff Feingold is the editor of the New Hampshire Business Review. He was on my radio show on Monday. Jeff Feingold said on my radio show that it was his understanding from someone in New London that Jerry Little approached the governor and said, I like that job. If I had only known, I would have approached the governor and said, I like that job too. So now the question is, who was on the bench? Who did she look at other than Jerry Little? All right? I want to know what the choices were. Was it a bench or was it a stool?
Well, and She doesn't have to say that.
She doesn't, but I would ask.
And do you think she will?
I think people need to, and now that we know so much more about this, I think it's totally appropriate. Where else did you look when you made this decision to take someone who has got such baggage as representing the banking industry for virtually his entire adult life, which is really what this is? And it raises one more question, which I feel is a little bit harsh, but I need to at least ask it. You need to raise a lot of money to run for U.S. Senate. There's a lot of money in one particular place. It's called banking, finance, and Wall Street.
So you think this is about public finance of campaigns and
it's about
private
not
finance?
Public. It's about private finance of campaigns, and that this kind of assures people that when I get to Washington, I will be sympathetic.
No.
And this is the problem.
And the governor's not here to defend herself,
no.
and so we don't know.
I don't know the
we don't know
answer.
if that's the calculus.
No, and I don't. Well, I don't know any of the answers. What I do know, for example, is that Kelly Ayotte wants her to support something called the People's Pledge, which is to basically say third-party money should not come into the state. The governor rightfully said no. I agree with that, but the problem is that when you say no, that means there's a whole onslaught of money. And we know there's lots of money in one place.
Right. So, but what we don't have a lot of is time left.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. When we return, we are going to continue this conversation and maybe talk a little bit about the Senate race. So please stay with us.